Welcome to your pre-lab video. This lab is on soil, and it's sort of an extensive lab, and we're going to be doing this over a couple days. So this is just the lab to get everything set up. So basically soil is a big part of the environmental science. The impacts of soil loss and soil erosion or degradation has such a huge impact on ecosystems and the way that we farm and stuff like that, and for long-term survival of humans. It's not only the basis of agricultural food production, but it's essential to many other plant productions such as wood, paper, cotton, and medicine. It also helps purify the water that we drink. Soil's complex mixture of inorganic materials and organic materials, microorganisms, water, and air. And the process to make soil is extremely long. So it's really important that we conserve our soil. In this lab activity, you're going to determine textural and compositional characteristics of a soil as well as chemical characteristics of your soil sample. So at this time, you're going to want to write a purpose, and then as you go through the lab, you're going to want to sketch a procedure and create data tables. Basically, the purpose here is to show that different parts of soil can absorb water differently, and then obviously a combination. Your soil is never going to be all of one thing. So it's never going to be all clay or all sand, or unless you're planting on the beach, and then all silt or sand, silt, clay, and so it's a combination of all of those. You may have seen on the front of your notes packet here this soil triangle that has all three, the sand, silt, and clay. And basically a combination of those is actually going to be the best soil, and we'll explain why later. So we're going to show how different soils absorb water differently in this first part called porosity. So in porosity, basically what you want to do is you're going to get 4 tubes, call them vials, and then with these tubes that are on the inside. The first step that you want to do is take the coffee filters, take one coffee filter, and you're essentially going to cut out the circle that's in the center. Don't worry if it's not perfect. You're just going to cut off the circle that's in the center. And basically, you're going to wrap this around the end. So this is what it looks like when it's done. You'll wrap it around with a coffee filter and then wrap around a rubber band around it. You want to choose a rubber band that is fairly small. It makes this a little bit easier to do so that the other side is open. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fill in each soil sample. So one will be filled in with sand to 7 centimeters. The lab says to do it to 7 centimeters. So you'll want to take a ruler and measure where 7 centimeters is. And then that's where you'll fill your soil sample up to. And then you'll do this for clay as well as humus. Clay will be in this bag right here. It's actual clay. And then humus, here's sand and here's humus, in which you'll put those into your sample, or into your vial here. And then basically you're going to follow the directions. It tells you to first measure the weight or the mass of this using an electronic scale. You'll measure the mass of this. Then you're going to put your soil in there, and then you'll measure the soil when it's when it's full of soil. And then the directions will tell you to put some water in there, a certain amount of water. I think it's 10 milliliters. And then that's it pretty much, and you'll have all 4 of these, and we'll set them somewhere, and we'll let them set until the next day, and the next day we'll come in and it will have absorbed some of the water, and so we'll be able to measure on the scale the new weight and figure out how much water each one absorbs. So you can see that the different types of soil absorb water differently. And then this 4th one is going to be for your soil sample, which you're going to collect outside. So that's part 1 on porosity. Part 2 is on texture. And so this is where we're going to actually take a sample from around the school. You're going to take a sample of the water, or the sample the soil, and you're going to figure out what percent of sand, silt, and clay that you have in your soil sample. This is important because the percents will tell us the type of soil. Remember this soil triangle on the front? It's going to tell us the type of soil that we have. And this is really important for farmers or gardeners or anybody who is trying to do something with the soil. Even people who want building materials or stuff like that are going to need to know the composition of the soil. So understanding what percent is what will be able to tell us what soil type we have, and then we can go from there as to what sort of things we can plant. So basically you're all going to get a mason jar just like this, and you're going to go out there and you're going to collect your own soil. This is my own soil sample here. And how you do this is you're going to fill it up about halfway, maybe a little bit more than half. That's fine. It's not really an exact amount here. And then what you're going to do is you're going to fill up to, not quite up to the top, but you're going to fill it up almost to the top here with water. So you'll notice here that I have filled it up with water, not quite up to the top. You can leave a little bit of room, otherwise it'll just sort of spill over. But we want to fill it up with water, and then we're going to add one more ingredient. Just a little bit of dish soap. This is special dish soap here. I mean, you could buy it, but basically it doesn't like produce a ton of bubbles. So basically you're just going to put a little bit of dish soap on it, and what this does is it makes for the settling process. The process, everything settling, makes it a little bit easier. So we put a little bit in there, cap our jar here, and screw this on. And so then what we do, once it's sealed in there good, is we're going to then shake it, vigorously shake it for about a minute or so. Really get those churned up in there. Okay. And so once it's shaken up, you can already see some of it settling there, some of the particles there, and that's it. We'll write our name on it, probably with a wet erase marker on the lid here, or initials or something like that, and let it sit. And we'll deal with the rest of it the next day. We'll look at the different layers and see what we got. Part 3 is the only part in which you'll be able to complete the first day, and that is soil pH. So basically you're going to take a little bit of your sample here, okay, and once you mix it up, there's some directions in there. You're going to take a little bit of your sample and mix it up. You're going to use, once it's all mixed up following the directions, you're going to use the soil pH sort of probes almost. They got a point on them. And basically you stick it in the soil and find a good spot there where it stays steady. It'll move back and forth, and you basically just jot down the pH. It's pretty easy, and it gives you the directions in here on how to do that. And that's it. Write down the pH. The pH will tell us a lot about what sort of plants can grow in those particular areas. So, and that's it.